Assalamu alaikum, my friends. Welcome back to another episode where we are diving into the Qur'an timeline, dissecting it and mastering it. And you guys, I hope, are mastering it alongside with me. If you remember from the previous episode, we built out this clock. And in the clock, we said it's a 24-hour clock. It starts with the cave of Hira, the four H's, Hamza and Umar, with the second H, Qur'an year 6. The Hijrah happened in 13, and Hudaybiyah happened in 19. And we said that broke down the clock into these four quadrants right here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Early Mecca, late Meccan, early Medina, and late Medina. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on this first quadrant here. I'm going to teach you all the mnemonics to master this. And this is where things start getting fun, because you're going to know every single major event that happened in these first 6 years. By the end of this series, you're going to know all 23 years, and you're going to know it. I guarantee you, inshallah, you're going to know this, because I know 9-year-olds and 8-year-olds who know this and master this inside out. I get amazing photos and emails from people around the world in Malaysia. They are so great there, and their students memorize this stuff. They know it inside out, and I know if they can do it, a lot of you guys watching can do this. And I've made this super easy for you, so hopefully you guys can just follow along. So what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of take off all these post-it notes right here, because I think it's going to be a little bit distracting for you guys. Let's take these off. And let's start with this first quadrant right here, which is the early Meccan quadrant. So the next step is we need to cut it into all of these Qur'an years. Now, the easiest way to do this, I've taught this so many times, I feel like the easiest way to make it look nice is what you need to do is you need to make a hash mark at the halfway point of each quadrant, okay? So this is roughly halfway between this and this quadrant, so I'm going to put like a little mark right there, and I'm going to do on the opposite side right here, a little mark right there, and then we're going to do it here, and then here. So that's kind of like the halfway marks of all of these. And then what you're going to do is you're going to draw 2 marks to cut this part into thirds and this part into thirds. So that way you have 6 equidistant marks, okay? I just like to have it look perfect. So I'm going to draw these kind of hash marks about. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In fact, we can number them out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, we'll stop there because we can do the rest of these in the next episode. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the mnemonics for the first 6 years. Now, we already have the Hijrah and Hamza and Umar here, but we're going to start over again because I want to tell you the specific mnemonics for the first 3 years. When the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, received his first revelation, he did not go and share it with everyone in Mecca. Actually, he was instructed to, you know what? Build a strong following of people who you really trust, your family and your closest friends. Explain to them that you are a prophet. Explain to them what it means to be a prophet. Explain to them that what your mission is to worship one God and to serve humanity and so forth. Teach them how to pray. And so what the Prophet, peace be upon him, did is he took the message from the cave of Hira and he came back to his wife, Sayyidina Khadija, who was the love of his life. His wife, she was the first person to embrace this message, followed by many other firsts, like Sayyidina Ali, who was basically like his adopted son, his best friend Abu Bakr, his other adopted son who is Zayd, his daughters, so many close, loving people embraced the message. On top of that, many of his good friends did, like Talha, and you have Sayyidina Uthman, all of these, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, a lot of different names. I won't get into the names because I know people feel overwhelmed by names in the beginning. But a lot of people accepted the message. And what they did is they prayed in private. They did not share this message publicly because they weren't ready for it. They had to kind of build up momentum in this movement. And so the mnemonic for the first 3 years of this 23-year clock is, imagine anytime you're trying to launch something like a rocket, right? You say 3, 2, 1, blast off, or 1, 2, 3, blast off. So in the same way, for the Prophet, peace be upon him, he had this 3-year count. 1, 2, 3, where we're private, and then in year 4, blast off. We're going to go public with the message. And so what we're going to write right here is the 3 Qur'an years are private, year 2 is private, and year 3 is private. These are the 3 private years. And like I said, this is the period of time where he's establishing the fundamentals of the faith, because this is new to a lot of people. And so this is where you're getting the first surahs of the Qur'an to be revealed. Many of these are the surahs that those of you who have memorized parts of the Qur'an know, like Surah Alaq, Surah Fatiha, all the shorter surahs that are at the end of the Qur'an, that are at the end of this book right here. Sorry about that. They're mostly early Meccan surahs. So the ones that you find in the back here, the short ones, these are early Meccan surahs, and these Meccan surahs have a very specific vibe to them, a feel to them, where they're asking readers to think about their creator, to like ask them kind of questions about how they can kind of establish their sincerity with God. Questions about, don't you think it's your responsibility to take care of other people? So a lot of these surahs are very focused on kind of internal reflection, to really focus on, like, why am I here? What is my purpose in life? And which way do I want to go? And so these are the private years. Well, if these are the private years, year 4 then is what, right? If they're the 3 private years, then year 4 must be the public year. And this is the year when the Prophet, peace be upon him, goes public with the message. He goes public with the message, and immediately the Quraysh are not happy with what he's asking for. Because like I said, a lot of times when someone comes and is trying to disrupt the status quo, the people who will be the most resistant to that are the people who benefit the most from the status quo. You see this in today's society. It was the same back in Mecca. It's the same in every society throughout human history. The people who are benefiting from the current power structure are the ones who will be the most resistant to anyone coming and saying, hey guys, time out. Why are we not taking care of the poor? Why are we not feeding the hungry? Why are we not like sheltering the homeless? The people who are rich will say, well, if they've worked hard as I did, they would have what I have. This is like in the Qur'an, you can read it in the newspaper today. And this is what happened. And so there was a lot of heat. There was a lot of, they mocked the Prophet. They made fun of him. They tortured his followers. They belittled them. And this is what happens with every social ideological movement, right? You try to cut it off at the knees. And so that's what happened in year 4. And so you hear stories of, Bilal and Sumayya and Yasser, and we'll get into these stories later, but a lot of, they were persecuting the most vulnerable people of the Prophet's followers. So because it's getting so bad in year 4, the Prophet, peace be upon him, decides in year 5, now look at the mnemonic. The mnemonic is my hand. So remember my hand, 5 fingers, so year 5. So whenever you hear 5, say, oh, 5. In year 5, the Prophet, peace be upon him, decides that he needs to split up the community and send the vulnerable people in his community away to a safer place. And so he tells them to seek asylum in Africa with the Christian king of Abyssinia. He was a very righteous king, a very just king. He says, look, those of you who are not comfortable here, go to Africa. He will give you asylum. So in year 5, imagine the mnemonic, the Prophet, peace upon him, waving goodbye, okay? Because he is sending these people to where? Abyssinia. This is in Africa. So year 5, they go to Abyssinia. Roughly 70, 80 companions go there. And the other half of the community stays in Mecca, and they're enduring this persecution. Year 6, the persecution gets so bad that the Prophet, peace upon him, like we talked about before, asks God, can you send me some allies? Send me some people who can be tough defenders of this community. And the Prophet receives the good news of the conversions of two amazing people. I was trying to say the conversion of who. I said 2. The conversion of who? 2 amazing people. One of them starts with an H because that's one of our H's here. And that is Hamza and Omar. So here we have the first 6 years of, what do we call this? Remember guys, this is the early Meccan period. So what do we have? Private, private, private. Public, 4, 5, Abyssinia, don't forget, look at my hand right here, waving goodbye, 6, Hamza, Omar, and that changed this period of individual, very difficult persecution to a period of collective group persecution, which is the late Meccan period. We will get into that into the next episode. So hopefully that wasn't too much for you. I'm trying to break this down to manageable chunks. If you guys love this, let me know in the comments, share this with anyone you like. You can go to my website, therevelationexperience.com, get the free tutorial PDF where I share all of this for you. It's just in a couple of pages, PDF, and you get more information on upcoming projects there. I'll see you guys in the next video, inshallah. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.